Hello and welcome to a top 10 tips video on surviving the forest. I'm not going to babble on too much, so without further ado, let's get into the tips. Now, tip number 1 is building defensive spikes. Now, to begin with in the game, you may think defensive spikes are very expensive. If you look at the crafting guide, it's 9 logs per spike. However, later on they are crucial because when the mutants find your base and they begin to send more people after you, they begin to send specialist mutants after you. These specialist mutants can break down your ordinary defensive walls, and you therefore need defensive spikes in front of it. 2 leads on for this. This is to use defensive walls when building a wall around your camp instead of custom walls. This is because the mutants, I found this out to my own peril, can jump over the custom walls, whereas they cannot jump over the defensive walls, which makes your camp much more secure. In many situations you may find that mutants have somehow got into your camp anyway, and they might be where you're wanting to sleep. You therefore need to have a second place to sleep. You need multiple sleeping spaces in order to be able to survive every night. Mutants are programmed to have a fear of fire. They absolutely hate it. You therefore need to put loads of fires around your camp. Not only does this scare off some mutants, it also helps you to kill many mutants because they'll walk into it and die. Now, what you need to watch out for when you're doing this is that you don't allow mutants to walk onto the fire that you don't want to kill. And obviously you may not want to kill some because it'll attract more mutants to your camp. Tips 5 and 6 are basically about where to set up your camp. You're obviously going to want to have one side defended because this is one side you don't have to protect from the mutants. The perfect way to do this is the sea. Mutants can't get into the sea, they can't get out of the sea. You're also going to want to have something in your camp that you can hide behind, just in case mutants manage to get into your camp and you don't want to be seen by them. You can see here I have 2 large rocks in my camp. Tip number 7 basically allows you to stay in your camp if you don't want to leave. It's quite an obvious tip. It's to have your food sources actually within your camp instead of outside, so that you don't actually have to leave the walls. This means that if there's mutants outside, or if it's night time and you're very hungry and you're close to death, then you can just pop over and get something from your food source within your camp instead of being forced to go outside. Tip number 8 is also a fairly obvious recommendation. You may have mutants in your camp at some point, you may be low on health, you may not want to encourage them to fight you. You therefore don't want to go into the camp and provoke them. So, what's the best thing to do? To have a camp outside of your camp. You can see here I have my magical floating tree house. I'm not sure why there's no tree, but there we go. So I can just run away, go into my tree house instead of going into the camp if I need to. Leading on from this is tip 9, which is to clear the surrounding area because you're going to want to be able to see the mutants, and you're not going to be able to do that if there's loads of bushes and shrubbery in the way. So yeah, clear the surrounding area. Tip number 10 is to have the traps in your base. Now I'm going to give you a quick show of how to use each of the traps and where to set them up. So first you have the noose trap, which at the moment says it needs a rope, but when you put it down you don't actually need rope for it. So that's basically a mutant will stand on it and they get slung up in the air. So you need to put the noose end of it next to where you want the mutant to go. Then you have the pitfall trap where they walk through it and it falls on them, as I casually set myself on fire. And finally you have the deadfall trap where if they step on the spike then you set it off and they're going to be squished. Thank you very much for watching. Comment down below any other tips, subscribe for more forest videos. Goodbye.